So as I was playing Donkey Kong Bonanza, getting to the end of that game, and that game is amazing, by the way, I was playing on my Switch 2, and I realized something. I realized it's been a long time since I played in handheld for any reason other than this channel. I have been playing exclusively in docked mode on my Switch OLED and then to my Nintendo Switch 2, pretty much the entirety of having both of those consoles at all. Now, I took to my community tab because I wanted to see if this was just something that I was going through or if other people were experiencing the same thing. I asked y'all, how do you most often play your Nintendo Switch or your Nintendo Switch 2? 160 of you were able to vote in this poll, and 41% said I play almost exclusively in docked, rarely in handheld. 31% said I play both very frequently. I go back and forth depending on the day, and 28% of you said I almost exclusively play in handheld mode. Now, those numbers shocked me quite a bit. I was very surprised to see that people have not been using this the same way I have been using it, and that speaks to the versatility of the Nintendo Switch and the concept of itself. It is such an amazing innovation to be able to play home console games on the go or at home or anywhere you like, and I am not at all questioning whether or not that is still a valid gimmick or a valid feature. But for those of you who have been playing exclusively in docked mode, or at least mostly in docked, I am here to represent that side of the crowd and answer the question, why is it that I see a lot of people really falling off on handheld mode and almost exclusively using docked? Well, in my experience, I think it has a lot to do with where I am in my stage of life. I go to college, and I have work, and if I am going to either one of those things, I am going there for a purpose. I go to my class, I will listen to my professors, I will come home, or I will go to work and then come back. I am usually never going somewhere in which I am going to take my Switch 2 with me because I'm there for a purpose, and once that purpose is done, I leave. If I'm gone for a long time or all day for either one of those things, usually I have a lot of work to do in between and I have no time to play my Switch 2, so why would I even pack it? And I think a lot of people feel the same way. Most people either go to school all day or they go to work all day, and neither place are they going to just have a lot of time to pull out their Switch and decide to start playing. Now, the only reason I could really see anyone doing that would be if, per se, you had a lunch break, or if you had some sort of break in whatever it is you were doing. And if you wanted to spend your break doing that, then sure. But for me, at least, when I even think about doing that, my first thought is, I know I'm not going to be able to get fully immersed in the experience, and so I just decide to wait. I decide not to bring it with me, because if I can't play it the exact way I want to play it, then I'm not going to play it at all. Donkey Kong Bonanza looks amazing, but in handheld mode, I can clearly see a little bit of a dip in graphics, and that is the case for most of these games, obviously, but I am seeing a big difference in my brain these past few years. I am seeing I care more about enjoying a game to its fullest, and sure, I can still enjoy it in handheld mode, and I have played Donkey Kong Bonanza in handheld mode in anticipation for my review of that game, but when I play it on the TV, I just have so much more of a better time, especially considering the Switch 2's Pro Controller is so good. It is the best controller I have ever used. The analog sticks are amazing. It's just something that the actual handheld mode of the Switch 2 cannot compete with. And of course, I'm a Nintendo fan. Graphics are not everything to me. I do not care if a game looks incredibly realistic. That is very cool if that's what you're going for, if that is something that you can achieve with your hardware, but I am a very gameplay first person. I do not care if it looks amazing. I just want it to look acceptable. As long as it's not constantly breaking, or there isn't a ton of pop-in all the time, or the frame rates aren't dipping up and down, I truly don't mind all that much what the game truly looks like. And yet, if I can get a better experience, why would I not want to do that? And in docked mode, you are always getting a better experience. So if I play in docked, that is how I am going to get the most out of the game, and that is, in a way, how the developers initially intended the game to run. So when I take it in handheld mode and I play it on the go or in my house or whatever, I am not getting the full experience, and that does something to my brain. Just even thinking about the possibility of me not getting the fullest out of every game, that hurts to think about. I do not like that. I do not like thinking about that, and I honestly have really gone mostly docked mode because of that feeling. If I am playing Donkey Kong Bonanza or Mario Kart World and I know I'm not getting every frame, I know I'm not getting the resolution that I really want, I would rather play in docked mode than play in handheld, because I know in that moment, if I play in handheld, sure, I get to play the game, and if I overlook it, which I can most of the time, then I get to have a fun experience anyways. But if I'm in docked, if I have the ability to be in docked, I would much rather do that. Because if I am on a vacation or something and I'm in the car, of course I'm playing in handheld mode, and I don't mind, because that is my only option. And for a lot of people who just want to have more time to game here and there, pick it up and play, this console is perfect for them. Because to reference my poll, even though 41%, which was the majority of people, said that they pretty much only play in docked mode like myself, people who are in the middle who play both frequently, which means they don't mind if they play handheld, and then the people who exclusively play handheld make up 59% of this poll. So if you look at it, pretty much 59% of people are saying, yeah, I am totally okay with playing in handheld mode. That is what I am choosing to do, and I truly don't mind it. That is interesting to me, because if you are wanting to play in small bites, and that is what this console is best with, playing it in small bites, I think it is amazing to take it on the go wherever you want. But what I also wonder is, for those people who play in handheld mode, are you at home when you do this? Or are you out on the go, doing something, going with your friends, or going to a house? What is it that you do when you play in handheld mode? Because for me, if I were to ever play in handheld mode, most of it would be because I am either gone on a trip, or I am in a car for a long time, or I am somewhere in which I have nothing else to do but play my Switch 2, and I knew that in advance, so I brought it. But a lot of people, I think, like the idea of playing in handheld mode just to begin with. People love the handheld consoles. That's why the DS, the Game Boy Advance, 3DS, all of these handheld consoles have always been a huge pillar for Nintendo in their company. People love handheld gaming. And so I think probably, and this is me going out on a limb here, but I wonder, do people actually play handheld mode while they're at home? Because what if someone's watching the TV? What if there is only one TV? What if your spouse or your roommate or your family are using the TV and you can't play games? Then you would play in handheld mode, because that's the only option to play your game. But if you also just like playing in handheld mode, maybe you have a free TV, no one's using it, it's all to yourself, and yet you still prefer to play in handheld mode so you can take it anywhere throughout the house with you. You don't have to be on your couch, you can be in your bed, you can be at your desk, you can be in the kitchen, you can do whatever you want. And the versatility of having a handheld console with the Joy-Con 2, in which you can just take it off, you can snap them off, and then just play it at your table with whatever method you want, that is a huge selling point for people, and I think that is why so many people adore this console and the concept of this console. From the Switch OLED, for me, when I bought that console, I knew I was probably not going to get a ton of mileage out of that screen. It looks so much better. It truly does look so much better than the initial Switch, and yet I knew when I bought it I wasn't going to get the most out of it. What I really bought that console for was, one, I just knew if I wanted to play in handheld, that would make me much more likely to do so, and two, for the better battery life, the better processing that the OLED has over the day one Switch that I had back from March, April 2017. And that's another thing, right? The Switch Lite was something that they sold for people who love handheld mode, and surprisingly, I don't feel like that console did as well as most people would have anticipated, because there are over 150 million Switches, and that number accounts for every single type of Switch, including the OLED and the Lite. And the OLED accounted for about 30 million of that 150, and the Switch Lite only accounted for about 25 million of that 150. But it is a very interesting statistic, because that tells me 16.7% of people preferred having a Switch Lite, or maybe they also had a Switch and bought a Switch Lite, but that at least tells me that 16.7% thought that it would be worth it to buy a Switch that doesn't switch. A console that is cheaper and is easier to hold and has a D-pad on it, and you cannot hook it up to a TV in any way. That is insane to me, because that tells me people love handheld and they wanted to buy it. And of course, it was also a cheaper option for you to play all of these amazing games. You can get Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and play all of these games for just an entry price of $250. That console is so cheap. And I would be very, very surprised if the Switch 2 does not do something similar to really bring down that price for people who know Nintendo as a very affordable company. And still, I believe $450 for the Switch 2 is not a very high price. When you look at the market, when you look at what this console provides, it is a very, very good price. And yet, if we can lower that down to $400 or even $350 for a Switch 2 Lite, that would be incredible for people who just want to get in on some of these exclusive games, but can't justify shelling out that much money. I love playing in handheld mode when I am able to do so, But the problem with that has to do with the docked mode right in the rear view mirror, because I am playing in handheld and I love it. I love the Switch 2. I loved playing in my Nintendo Switch 1 back in 2017 to probably 2020. I adored playing in handheld almost more than playing on the TV, because at the time I would watch something on TV and then play with my Switch. I could do both at the exact same time, and that is a habit I picked up from the Wii U days, in which you could play either on the TV or on the gamepad. I would play on the gamepad for most of the time and then watch my TV shows on the TV itself. Or if other people wanted to watch the TV, they could also do that. The versatility is something I hope they never, ever go back away from. I hope this continues to grow and grow in this direction of always being at home and on the go, and also just continuing and increasing in quality of life and power and everything else. So I think that has a lot to do with my new position now, because if I look back at those days in which I played in handheld all the time, I saw myself really just trying to get the most out of the experience. For me personally, I knew I was going to enjoy myself much more if I was able to play my games and watch my TV shows at the exact same time, and that's why I played in handheld. Or in the past, in which I had all kinds of other things to do and people were taking up the TV, I knew it was good for me to have my Switch with me and I could just play it anytime I wanted, get it in short bursts, and that was very fun as well. But moving forward, that core identity for why I enjoy my Switch has changed, totally and completely changed and flipped on its head. Used to be that I would enjoy a lot more of it if I were to play in handheld mode because of all those things. Now I know I'm going to get the most enjoyment out of docked mode, so I prefer to use it in that way. And I think that's what it comes down to for everyone. Obviously, if you're going to play in docked most of the time, that means you probably appreciate graphics more. That means you like a bigger screen. You can like sitting on your couch holding a big Pro controller and using the Joy-Con 2 grip, or just something to really hold on to more than just a actual OLED screen or a Switch 2 screen, because those consoles are a little thin and they can make your hands cramp using the Joy-Con. So if you enjoy docked mode, you probably enjoy that a lot more. If you enjoy playing in handheld mode, you probably like those bite-sized experiences. You probably like the smaller screen, being able to go anywhere you like. You enjoy those things a little bit more, and it all comes down to that initial motivation. Why is it that you're sitting down to play? Is it because you really, really want to get immersed and you want to get the fullest out of the game itself? Or is it because you want to enjoy yourself in the moment and you're going to play it because you know you can play it however you want, wherever you want? If you're about to go to bed, you can wind down by playing a little bit of Mario Odyssey, a little bit of Donkey Kong Bonanza, then you can just throw it to the side and go to sleep. This is the ingenious of the Nintendo Switches and the Switch 2's portability. Having the option is everything, and Nintendo is historically a company that does not like to give us many options, so to see it be a core part of their franchise now, a core part of their next generation, is amazing, because that's what it's going to be moving forward. That's what it's going to have to be. The more options you give your customers, the more people that are going to buy. The Switch 2 is selling a lot of copies. It is selling like gangbusters, and the games are going to keep coming, and people are going to continue to be hyped because of the options. If I look at a store and I see a PlayStation 5, I see an Xbox Series X, and I see a Switch 2, and then I see Madden is coming out in a week or two, and I really love Madden and I want to play Madden, I know it is on all of those consoles, and so I say to myself, which one do I want to buy? If I want to play the new Madden, or if I want to play a new third-party game, I'm going to buy the one that gives me portability, gives me more options. This is a lesson I think Nintendo needs to learn moving forward in a lot of their philosophies. There are so many games like Mario Kart World that do not provide enough options. In Mario Kart Worlds Online, we have beaten this horse to death at this point, but you can no longer pick 3-lap tracks all on your own. You have to hope and pray that random will give you that, and it only gives you that about 15% of the time, or hope that the map itself selects one for everyone to pick, and even if it does, it's not a guarantee that everyone in the lobby is going to pick it. Nintendo needs to learn, when they make their games, when they make their hardware, sure, you can make it with a specific idea in mind, but if people are buying it and using it for something slightly different, or a variation of that idea, or they're just using it in a way you didn't expect at all, they have to be okay with us using it the way we want to use it rather than the way they designed it to be used. And sure, that design is ingenious a lot of the time. They do an amazing job of thinking about the consumer and what it should be and how it should be for them. But in cases like Mario Kart World, where they decided we want intermissions to be a big part of this game, we want this to be the main feature, well, Why are you forcing it on us? Because if it's the main feature and no one wants to play it, then maybe that shouldn't have been your main feature to begin with. And of course, I do enjoy intermissions every now and then. I don't mind the way it was before, in which if you wanted to pick random, it would always be a 3-lap track. And then if you wanted to play the intermissions, you could pick the actual tracks themselves. But what I don't like is the lack of options that this now provides for us, because before it just was kind of random only, and then now it's pretty much only intermissions. And if you want to supersede that, you have to do either Discord or just play offline. And that is very, very unfortunate for a company that could be making a lot more people a lot happier. All you have to do is give us options. Give us options to play either both, give us options to play either the intermissions, or be able to play the actual 3-lap tracks themselves. This type of option mindset has to be what they move forward with, and it has to be why they continue to succeed. The Switch and the Switch 2 are a prime example of that, and the docked mode versus the handheld mode is the perfect example of why options matter, why options are important. The sooner Nintendo realizes that, and the sooner they start to incorporate that in more than just their hardware, is the day that they become even more successful and provide even more goodwill to their fans, who will already do so much for them. So thank you so much for watching to the very end. Make sure you let me know down below, do you play in docked most of the time, handheld, or a little bit of both? Tell me why in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Click that notification bell so you know exactly when my videos release, and make sure you join my membership program to help support the channel and me as a creator, but also to get a bunch of cool perks yourself, like early access to most of my videos. Make sure you click on the left side of your screen if you want to see my rankings of every single 3D Mario game, and click on the right side of your screen if you want to see my video talking about the Zelda casting situation. Thank you once more for making it to the end. You are phenomenal. Make sure you have yourself an amazing day. This has been Ray's Nintendo Talk. I have been Ray, and I will see you all in the next video.